Here at Business Marketing Engine, our first guiding principle is relationships first. And this is one of the most powerful and impactful principles that I've personally put into my life and seen amazing results with. And I've also seen it just create immense positive growth for our organization and honestly for everyone that has adopted and used this in their life. So I appreciate you taking time to tune in, and I'm going to share with you exactly how we use that principle on today's episode. So all of this week, we've been talking about the value and the importance and just the strategic, benefit that you get from clearly spelling out what your core values are and what your guiding principles are. And again, I've over the years probably confused those terms or maybe not understood them. And sometimes I've probably even used them wrong. But in the way that I use these and interpret these and use them valuably for our team is core values are kind of the overall, umbrella of here's who we are generally and things that we expect. And then our guiding principles get more granular and tactical, and they help us know how to make the right decision in a specific situation. And well, yes, core values impact those specific situations. The reason that we've listed out all 15 of our guiding principles right on our website, which you can go to businessmarketingengine.com. Under the About Us section, they'll be listed out there so you can read and review all of them. The reason that we have 15 guiding principles is because I wanted to externalize my thought process, how I make decisions, and give clear structure and guidance to myself so I can hold myself accountable first, and then also just serve and support my team with really good principles that help them make the best decision in the situations that they're in. And so our first guiding principle, like I said in the intro here, is relationships first. And then we describe what we mean by that. And it says on our site, we believe that relationships are more important than money. We show up and give our best work to all those around us. We listen first and then serve. And the reason that I made this our first guiding principle is because 5 or 6 years ago, the business was kind of flat. I think we were doing $300,000 or $400,000 a year, which is not nothing, but I had not broken the $1 million mark, and I was just feeling stalled out. And as I really took time to journal and self-reflect, I realized that I had carried forward from past trauma in business and in my personal life, this false belief that people were out to get me and that business relationships had to be adversarial and that, I always was in a negotiation and I always had to protect against somebody trying to get me or take advantage of me. And while all of those things can occur some of the time, I believe that that's not the case most of the time. And I believe that generally speaking, most people at heart are good people trying to do the best that they can, but we run into roadblocks with life situations, poor communication, and a bunch of other challenges. And it puts us in a position where if we don't have guiding principles to guide us through that, it's very easy to become, reactionary, make it, again, a negative relationship, adversarial, where somebody's trying to steal from you, or you feel like you're going to be taken advantage of. And so I hadn't let go of the trauma of my past business where I had gone bankrupt and gone through some really challenging times. And I still carried that short season of life where I had a lot of challenges, a lot of negative things. I had carried that mindset and belief forward. So once I identified that, and I really looked at the people in my life who were my mentors, who had really shown me the way to success, I saw that their first priority in almost all cases was, how do I invest in the relationship? How do I do what's right for the relationship first? Because the money will take care of itself. And as I thought through that, I made the shift in my mind and said, you know what, I'm going to show up and serve at the highest level. I'm going to do everything I can to serve these people. And I'm going to let everything else kind of fall where it may, because if I do the right thing first, then the right results will happen at the right time. Maybe not immediately, but now or down the road or from somebody else, I will receive back that positive energy and that good that I put into the world. And when I made that shift, it was amazing because within a matter of weeks and months, just a short time, I went from being stalled out to the business growing aggressively again, because I know that my team and my clients, they immediately saw my heart shift. They could feel that energy, and they knew that when I showed up, I was going to do everything I could to make them successful. I was going to do everything I could to serve them and help them grow. And that energy and that attention is noticeable instantaneously. I think all of us have had plenty of bad experiences when we go to buy something or go to work with somebody, or, we're in a work situation and there's a negative. I think plenty of us have had that. But I also think it's realistic to look back and say, man, when was the last really amazing, customer experience I had when buying something? Or when did I go to that restaurant and just get treated like I was royalty and I'm going to go back there over and again? Or when did I call that person for help and they just stopped what they were doing and made me the center of their attention and served me and helped me? All of us have had those people in our life, and it's easy for us to forget those and only remember the negative. But in reality, we can model that and we can create that space around us. So our team, our clients, our family, our friends, everybody that we interact with understands that we're present and we're there to help them. And so when I'm in a situation where, there's a challenge in a, client relationship or a challenge with a team member that I need to work through and solve, my default is, how can I do what's right in the relationship and the money will work out? And I remember as I started to apply that, the business just grew because people could tell that I was sincerely there to serve and help them grow. I wanted to listen to their needs and then serve them, like we talk about in this principle. And so things really started to shift. But I also remember a couple of years ago, right when the pandemic hit, I had a client come to me and he said, "Hey, I just lost this huge account. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with the marketing. I love what you guys are doing, but it's going to take me 3 or 4 months to get back on my feet with this big unexpected change." And because I really take time to consider and say, what's best for the relationship, and I'm not concerned about the money as the first priority, I said, you know what, I'm just going to cut your marketing bill in half until you can get back on your feet. And they were incredibly grateful. And I just did it because I knew that's the right thing to do. And I figured if they get back on their feet, great. If not, I'm just doing what I would want somebody to do for me if I came to them in the same situation. I'm honoring what I think is best in the relationship. And when we do that, I know and I believe, and from experience can prove with multiple stories, that it will come back to us in the right time. It doesn't always come back from that person, though. But in this case, the universe was really gracious to me, and it was amazing because we went through that few month period. That client became a dear friend of mine, and they reached out and said, "Hey, I'm ready to spend $100,000 a year with you guys," which was 5x what they were spending when they ran into that hard time. And I said, "Hey, I'll just help you out and make sure you get through this." And so the trust that that they extended to me came from the fact that they knew I genuinely wanted to show up and serve them, with all I had. And so that's an example with a client. The other example that I've shared recently on the show comes right from this principle of recently in the last year or so, I realized, generally speaking, regardless of the circumstances, unless somebody's stealing from me or doing something illegal or really bad, which I'm really grateful to say hasn't happened in a long time, but unless there's something really crazy going on, if a team member decides, that it's time to move on, or if I realize, they're no longer aligned with us and I'm going to help redeploy them and help them move on to a new opportunity, whenever possible, which is most of the time now, I want to give them severance so they have a nice, easy, transition into their next role. And that's an example of realizing that my relationship with them is more important than the money. And one example that comes to mind when I did this recently is I had an amazing young man come to work for me, had just come out of a really challenging situation personally, and he came on to become a salesperson for me. And he put in the work. He worked hard. He did everything he possibly could, but it just wasn't clicking. It wasn't working. And it wasn't an attitude problem. It wasn't an effort problem, but that maybe the skills just weren't a match for us, or maybe it just wasn't meant to be. And he had some performance, but I wasn't able to get him to the level that he had to perform in his role. And so when I, we met with him, I made sure that he had a smooth transition, gave him severance, gave him a letter of recommendation, because it wasn't a case where I felt like he wasn't trying to do the work the right way. It just something wasn't clicking. And so it was a really positive experience. He actually thanked me on his redeployment call when I was letting him go and ending his contract. And what was amazing is within a month, he got a job at an auto dealership, and he is absolutely crushing it. I mean, he posts all the time about these high-end cars he sells and how much he's making and how much fun he's having. And so I have a great relationship with him, as I do many other team members that used to work on our team, because I just said, what's going to be best for them? How can I serve and support them even in our final time together? And so by doing that, I see them grow and succeed. They refer people to me. There's been another benefit that I talked about on another episode, where now people just know in our culture that we do anything we can to take care of you, even if we're wrapping up our contract with you. And so people give us 2-week, 3-week, 4-week, 5-week notices to make sure that it's the smoothest transition possible. And so that's just a few examples of how we apply our first guiding principle, which is relationship first, that says we believe that relationships are more important than money. We show up and give our best work to all those around us. We listen first, and then we serve. So I encourage you to maybe list down below, what are some of your principles? Comment down below, because I'd love to see how you operate. And I would definitely encourage you to take time to document what your principles are and share them with your team and make them public and hold yourself accountable to them like I do, because I don't always want to show up in the way that I know I should. And it's great to have this external public statement that I've made that says, I'm going to do everything in my power to follow these guiding principles and these core values, because that's really what helps us show up and serve our team, our clients, and helps our company grow as well. So I appreciate you taking time to tune in today. In our next episode, we're going to talk about our second guiding principle. So make sure you tune in for that. If you need any help with any of this, I'd be glad to share resources. So you can reach us at businessmarketingengine.com. Have an awesome rest of your day.